We've just picked up a huge amount of new and exciting information and gameplay about Hogwarts Legacy, so I'm going to walk you through 10 things you need to know about it so you're ready for your Hogwarts acceptance letter when it does arrive. So let's disapparate in. And before we delve into anything else, when is the game actually coming out? Well, Warner Brothers have said that this will be arriving in holiday 2022, and we don't actually have an exact date, and it is left somewhat ambiguous, but historically, when it does come to game releases in the holiday season at the end of the year, the release window is usually accepted as beginning around the 4th of November, which is Thanksgiving in the US, and then onwards to Christmas Day. Now, that isn't ironclad, and some people do interpret the holiday season commencing at the end of November, but I would say we're not really far off stating that it's going to arrive around then if they don't then delay it further, giving us an approximate 31-day launch window so the game can take advantage of a general increase in consumer spending within that time of the year. And this kind of all makes sense to me, and I've always seen Harry Potter as a Christmas film anyway, and I'm interested to see if they actually pop up any sort of Christmas decorations in Hogwarts or events that we can partake in. I think that would be awesome. But I'm getting a bit sidetracked here, so let's talk about the story now. And what is it all about? Well, first of all, Hogwarts Legacy is set in the 1800s, well before the Harry Potter series, and we play as a student who actually starts Hogwarts as a 5th year, which is, as the narrative director Moira Squire says, is very unusual. Incidentally, we as the student hold a key to an ancient secret that threatens to tear the whole wizarding world apart, as we have the ability to possess, master, and manipulate ancient magic. Speaking of which, for those of you who aren't really too well versed with HP lore, or perhaps you just haven't read the books in a very long time, ancient magic happens independently from the efforts of witches and wizards. It's triggered by events or powers that are native to reality, and it's considered to be extremely old and mysterious, where a wand isn't necessary to actually make it work. A good example of this ancient magic is the bond of love, which happens when someone sacrifices themselves for another, which is what we've seen in the Harry Potter universe itself, as well as the magical skin resistance of dragons and giants. Now, with that in mind, because of our unique relationship with this ancient magic in Hogwarts Legacy, it puts us on a collision course with a goblin leader called Ranrock and his allies, the dark wizard Victor Rookwood. Both of these rebel leaders wish to obtain and wield this ancient magic for themselves, subsequently bringing goblins to the same social status of wizard kind, and the dark wizards ruling over much of the wizarding world. And this is where we arrive as players to stop that all from happening. Now, that storyline does sound great in my opinion, but let's chinwag about the map and exploration. Game director Alan Tews said that we wanted you to be able to discover new locations, such as exploring the Black Lake, meeting new wizards and witches in their houses beyond Hogwarts, and fully exploring Hogsmeade, as well as discovering secret chambers that lie deep within Hogwarts and across the Scottish landscape. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't be able to see or visit familiar places like the Great Hall, Hogwarts Clock Tower, and the Hospital Wing. Those are of course included in this game, but we'll also be able to visit the house elves in the kitchens and sneak into the prefect's bathroom to brew potions. Now, as the school year does progress, Warner Bros. And Avalanche have implemented a dynamic season and climate system where the environmental surroundings will change in correspondence with that particular time of year, which I think looks absolutely fantastic, and it wouldn't be an open world RPG if we didn't have puzzles hidden around the world. In fact, the ones that have been presented to us here are environmental challenges, which are said to have been created by Merlin himself when he was a student at Hogwarts. And I'll be honest with you, if we come across some sort of hidden Merlin robe deep in a cave somewhere, I will absolutely lose my mind. Now, that aside, and when it comes to map size, there hasn't been anything specific said yet, but I think we can safely say it's going to be quite big, as we'll need a broom to traverse the landscape or a hippogriff, which we'll have to complete a side quest to obtain. Now, it's clear to me that there's a lot of discovery and exploration to be had here, and I am so pumped for finding out secret passageways hidden behind paintings across the castle. And you may be thinking like, Andy, come on dude, get a grip, it's just a painting and a passageway. But I mean, this is the kind of game I genuinely wish I had when I was younger. Now, another thing that I think you're going to like, well actually perhaps you may not, but I definitely will, and that's customization. The official statement from Warner Bros. Is that Hogwarts Legacy is your story. It's rooted firmly in wizarding world lore, and it starts with creating a witch or wizard you want to be through a character customization screen. And I think this is absolutely tremendous, because I've always wanted to make my own wizard, and once you've settled on your appearance, so in my case 8 hours later, we'll be able to be sorted into one of the 4 houses, but they haven't specified if we'll be able to choose the house ourselves or perhaps answer a set of questions like we can in the Pottermore quiz online. If I'm being honest, I can actually see it being a mechanic where we'll be able to specifically choose which house we want to be in, just like when Harry pleaded with the Sorting Hat to not be placed in Slytherin, and the Hat took that request into consideration. So if you want to be in Gryffindor, then I think the game will allow you to join that house, but also also have the option to go in blind and complete a mini game or quiz or answer these questions for that real sorting hat immersion and experience. But after you are sorted in your house, you're going to be able to visit each house common room, with Avalanche saying that they are all in the correct locations in Hogwarts in relation to the books, and we can officially expect more in-depth looks from the common rooms themselves this year, and I'll of course let you know as soon as possible when we do get more info about them. Now let's talk about spells and combat. It is a big part of this Hogwarts game, and I'm pleased to say that it does look like great fun. We will be able to fight various enemy types: witches, wizards, creatures and beasts corrupted by magical forces, and of course goblins. But to do that efficiently, we're going to need a solid spellbook ready to use at a moment's notice. Now, some of you familiar with the series will be pleased to know that such spells as Incendio, Descendo, Petrificus Totalis, Avada Kedavra and Axio, I'm going to pronounce it that way because that's what Stephen Fry pronounced it as, all make an appearance here, which will be in the game to use. But the combat and spell gameplay is a lot more detailed than just spamming spells. The developers have stated that it's up to us how we want to approach combat. We can go in all ones blazing using the Axio charm to pull enemies closer before blasting them with an Incendio spell, or we can cast the Disillusionment charm to take a stealthier approach, finishing off enemies with the Petrificus Totalis takedown spell. Incidentally, many enemies will require us to counter their strengths and weaknesses, as some will charge straight at us and other NPCs will approach us more on the peripherals of combat, using stuns and incapacitation spells against us at a distance, which we'll then need to counter with the correct offensive and then defensive spells. We even get finishing moves here, some of which are actually shrouded in dark ancient magic that apparently even our professors don't know about, and I think they look fantastic. The team has also been working hard on the difficulty settings, allowing us to choose a specific level that we want to play at, enabling a better experience for us individually. So what that means, if you haven't really played RPG games, is that you could play it at a level where it's nice and easy, story format, handheld, and you just enjoy the whole game for what it is. Or what I'm kind of hoping for is a nightmare Dark Lord mode, and I really hope we get it. And if you have learned anything new in the video so far, by the way, and only if you wouldn't mind, a very swift like down below really does help me out, so thank you very much. Now let's move on and talk about talents and abilities. This system is designed as a way for us to upgrade our current spells and skills that we like using in the game to make them more impactful and pretty much fun to use during the whole game playthrough. For example, if you're a stealth orientated player, you'll be able to access the stealth panel in the talents menu, as you can kind of see here on your screen, and then you can subsequently unlock skills within that stealth tree to improve certain stealth orientated spells and abilities. A further example of this in action is turning invisible after a stealth tree upgrade and then using the Petrificus Totalis spell and Axio spells while undetected. Now these upgrades all really come down to how you like to play as a witch or wizard. Do you want to be a stealth aura or perhaps a front-facing explosive duelist? The choice here really is ours. However, to actually spend those skill points within our chosen talent trees, we'll need to earn experience, which we can obtain by, well, of course, just playing the game generally, but also completing challenges and puzzles around the world. Avalanche have also said that we'll be able to spend our experience points on upgrading certain gear we like. And to do that, we're going to have to venture inside the room of requirement, and I'm going to walk you through that in a moment. But before I do, let's talk about classes we can actually attend at Hogwarts and the impact potions as well as Herbology we'll be having in the game. Now, throughout the story, and similar to the first PlayStation 1 game, if you played it back in the day, we will be attending classes which include charms, defense against the dark arts, Herbology, potions, and beasts, which are the ones officially been named thus far. And this is where we're going to meet some narrative characters, such as our professors. We'll be able to learn to cast specific spells, grow plants, brew potions, and learn how to duel, which can then be, by extension, used throughout the open world. I kind of see these classes as mini tutorials from what's been shown so far within the larger narrative arcs. Now, once we've got the basics from these classes, we'll then be able to experiment and create our own potions and grow our own plants, which we'll then be able to use during the game. So, for example, we'll be able to brew a potion in the room of requirement, which gives us a solid power boost, giving us more impactful spell damage and increasing their effects. Or perhaps we can use the plants that we've grown ourselves to then be deployed to swarm and distract targets. Now, I particularly like the idea of unleashing the mandrake seedling to completely incapacitate everybody in the vicinity, which some of you OGs may remember from the books and films. And in short, I think if we do spend time brewing potions and growing plants, we'll be able to use them in an offensive and defensive manner in accordance of what our preferred gameplay style is, which I think is an awesome addition. Now, when it does come to magical beasts, the development team hasn't forgotten about them here, which makes sense as the recent Fantastic Beasts film series has added a lot more lore to the HP universe, and with the Secrets of Dumbledore film out in April, I imagine we're going to be seeing more gameplay previews surrounding the beasts soon. However, what we know so far in the game is that these magical beasts roam the land inside and outside the Hogwarts grounds. In fact, some of them have actually been corrupted by dark magic, while others are at risk from poachers who have laid a variety of traps to capture them. So if we do come across some of these beasts trapped in the world, we'll be able to take them back to our room of requirement after saving them and restore them to full health. More on that in just a second, because there's more familiar creatures that we will be coming across throughout the game, such as trolls, and I do hope we come across one of them in the bathroom, to be honest with you. And we also have the Hungarian Horntail, which, as we discussed earlier, have hides that are thick with ancient magic, and canonically, the only thing that can actually penetrate their dragon hide are the most powerful of spells, which are often shrouded with ancient magic, which we as the character in the game can actually learn to use. So interesting speculation there. Dragon battles, here we come, fingers crossed. Now, Avalanche and Warner Bros. Have also officially stated that some unique spells will only be available or taught to us from our companions who we will meet throughout the story. So do expect to see Nat Eye, Poppy Sweeting, Sebastian Swallow, and the House Elf Deke playing a real prominent role as we play through the main questline, as they're going to be bringing something to the table which I'm assuming will actually help in our fight against the Goblin Rebellion. And speaking of the Goblin Rebellion, our friend and mentor who will be guiding us through this saga is Professor Elazar Fig, who's going to be very well versed with the leader of the goblins, Ranrock, so also do expect to see him appearing a lot throughout the game. And another cool thing to mention here, Chandler Wood, community manager on Hogwarts Legacy, did mention in a PlayStation blog article that we may be coming across familiar names during the game, and I quote, like a Weasley or two, which sounds great, to be honest with you. It gets me excited that there's going to be a lot of Easter eggs and secrets and homage paid to the original series in this game, even if it does take place centuries before Harry Potter takes place itself. Now, a big addition here is the Room of Requirement, which I'm really pleased they've included, and we're introduced to it quite early in our Hogwarts saga, and that's for a good reason, as it's going to allow us to harvest plants, brew potions, and upgrade all of our gear we discussed earlier on in the video. So think of this space as an in-game blacksmith or vendor where we're going to be able to stock up on whatever we need and customize our witch or wizard. Now, that's not to say that there isn't more vendors in the game, because there's lots. For example, we can purchase different outfits and consumables at Hogsmeade Village with knuts, sickles, and galleons we can earn in game, but rather think of this room as your main base to get everything refined to your liking. Additionally, we'll also be given access to a mandrake, which is another word for a strange or diverse collection of people or things. And the great thing about this area is this is where we're going to be able to, as Avalanche puts it, customize this space to freely reflect our personality and magical specialities. Now, I think this is outstanding. We're kind of building our own customizable magical space within the game itself, such as building our own cottage, having our own pets, and magical beasts running around inside. It's kind of like a Hogwarts Inception style room within a room, and I can see a huge amount of development long term here. I think it would be awesome to have friends visit in the future and maybe partake in mini games or dungeons together in some sort of co-op mode, but for now it's single player and we're just going to have to see. Now, Chandler also went on to say, by the way, that there will be no MTX or microtransactions in this game, which is a very big statement. If this game does take off, I think it will, this could be a great example and proof of them not being needed in single player RPG games. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens there. And I just want to say a big thanks to all of the Reloads researchers who helped put this video together in our Discord community, and thanks to you Reloaders who support the channel with your hard-earned cash. It really does mean a huge amount to me. I genuinely appreciate it, so thank you very much. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Do consider subscribing for more Hogwarts content, and as usual, coffee's on me.